Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we are reading from Canto 1, Chapter 13, verse 1. Sutta Uvacha Vidurastirthayatrayam Maitreyadatmano gatim Gyatva gadadhastinapuram Taya vapta vivitsitaha.
Translation. Sri Sutta Goswami said, while traveling on a pilgrimage, Vidura received knowledge of the destination of a self from the great sage Maitreya and then returned to Hastinapur. He became as well versed in the subject as he desired.
Verse 2. Yavataha kritavan prashnan chatta kaushara jataik bhaktir govinde tebhyasa chopar ramaha.
Translation. After asking various questions and becoming established in the transcendental loving service of Lord Krishna, Vidura retired from putting questions to Maitreya Muni.
Text 3 and 4. Tam buddhim agatam drishtva dharma putra sahanujaha dhritarashto yususach sutaha sharadata pratha Gandhari Draupadi Brahman Subhadra Chottara Kripi Anyashta Jamayaha Pandor Gyatah Vyasasita Striyaha.
Translation. When they saw Vidura return to the palace, all the inhabitants, Maharaja Yudhishthira, his younger brothers, Dhritarashtra, Satyaki, Sanjaya, Kripacharya, Kunti, Gandhari, Draupadi, Subhadra, Uttara, Kripi, many other wives of the Kauravas, and other ladies with children, all hurried to him in great delight. It is appeared that they had regained their consciousness after a long period.
Text 5. Pratyupjagmu praharshena pranam tanva ivagatam abhisamangya vidhivat parishvanga abhivadana hai.
Translation. With great delight, they all approached him. As if life had returned to their bodies, they exchanged obeisances and welcomed each other with embraces.
Text 6. Mumucha prema bashpaugham viraho tatkantha kataraha rajatam ahrayam chakre kritasan parigraham.
Translation. Due to anxious and long separation, they all cried out of affection. King Yudhishthira then arranged to offer sitting accommodations and the reception.
Text 7. Tam bhuktavantam vishantam asinam sukhamasane prashayavanato raja prahatesham cha shunvatam.
Translation. After Vidura ate sumptuously and took sufficient rest, sorry, this person, can you?
Hare Krishna, reciters, please unmute yourselves.
Sorry. After Vidura ate sumptuously and took sufficient rest. He was comfortably seated. Then the king began to speak to him, and all who were present were listened.
Text 8. Yudhishthir uvacha api smaratno shuyushmat pakshachaya medhita vipatkana vishadair mochita yat samakritaha.
Translation. Maharaja Yudhishthir said, "My uncle, do you remember how you always protected us, along with our mother, from all sorts of calamities? You partially, like the wings of a bird, saved us from poisoning and arson." Hare Krishna.
Text 9. Kaya vritya vartitam vas radhichar kaya vritya vartitam vas charadhabhi mandalam tirthani kshetra mukhyani sevitani ha bhutale.
Translation. While traveling on the surface of the earth, how did you maintain your livelihood? At which holy place and pilgrimage sites did you render service? Hare Krishna.
Text 10. Bhavat-pida bhagavatas tirtha-bhuta swayam vibho tirthi kurvanti tirthani swatasthena gadapratha.
Translation. My Lord, devotees like your good self are very holy places personified because you carry the personality of Godhead within your heart. You turn all places into places of pilgrimage. Hare Krishna.
Text 11. Apina suhadrastatha bandhavam Krishna devataha drishta shrutva na yadavaha swapurya sukhamasate.
If you can put the text up.
Hare Krishna, I can't hear. Hare Krishna.
If you can put the text up, so that's
What
text
text are
11.
we on? Sorry.
Text 11, are
Okay.
we? Yes. My uncle, you must have visited Dwarika in that holy place. Our friends, ask them, are they all living happily in their bodies? Hare Krishna.
Text 12. Iti yukto dharmarajena sarvatata samavarnayat yathanubhutam kramasho vina yadukulakshayam.
I can't see the text. Sorry, if you can put it up. Translation. Thus being questioned by Maharaja Yudhishthira, Mahatma Vidur gradually described everything he had personally experienced except news of the annihilation of the Yadu dynasty. Hare Krishna.
Text 13. Nanva apriyam durvishaham nirna swayam upasthitam navedayat sakaruno dukhitan drishtumakshamaha.
Translation. Compassionate Mahatma Vidur could not stand to see the Pandavas distressed at any time. Therefore, he did not disclose his unpalatable and unbearable incident because calamities come of their own accord. Hare Krishna.
Text 14. Kachit kalam athavacheet sakrato devatsa sukham bhaturjeshtasya bhaturjetashta shreyaskrit sarvesha sukhamavaham.
Translation. Thus Mahatma Vidur, being treated just like a godly person by his kinsmen, remained there for a certain period, just to rectify the mentality of his elder brother, and in this way bring happiness to all the others. Hare Krishna.
Text 15. Abhidra Aryamadandam Yathavadghakarishu Yavadadhara Sudratvam Shapatvarsha Satam Yamaha.
Translation. As long as Vidura played a part of the Sudra, being cursed by Manduka Muni, Aryama officiated at the post of Yamraja to punish those who committed sinful acts. Hare Krishna.
Text 16. Yudhishthiro labdharajo drishtva pautram kulandharam patrabhir lokapala bhai mubude parayashuya.
Translation. Having won his kingdom and observed the birth of one grandson, competent to continue the noble tradition of his family, Maharaja Yudhishthir reigned peacefully and enjoyed uncommon opulence in cooperation with his younger brothers, who were all expert administrators to the common people. Hare Krishna.
Text 17. Evam graheshu saktanam pramatpanam tadihaya atyakramad vigyatam kalam paramadustaraha.
Translation. In Samarnabhu, eternal time imperceptibly overcomes those who are too much attached to the family affairs and are always engrossed in their thought. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So you finished the recitation?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay, thank you very much, Mataji, Vanita Mataji, and is it Prema Mataji? And I like the way you say Hare Krishna. I like how you say, sorry, Mataji?
Prem Kumari.
Prem Kumari. Prem Kumari. Thank you, Mataji. It's wonderfully recited. And Vanita Mataji, I love the way you say Hare Krishna after every
Oh,
verse.
sorry.
No, it's so nice. It's nice, really nice. I like it.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Right.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Jyoti Mataji. Thank
Hare
you
Krishna.
so much.
So, Prabhuji, you are the host now, and we've finished.
I'm the host.
questions,
Okay,
yeah.
thank you so much for stepping in and helping me out today. For dear devotees, today we start a new chapter. Dhritarashtra quits home, and we'll be reading and discussing let me put my video on, verses 1 to 3 today. So just bear with me while I get the database up. Chapter 13 and advanced view. Okay, wonderful. So we'll start off by reciting the Mangala Charanam prayers. Please, dear devotees, you can join in. We unmuted mics also. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmyena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadalmayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Sahitam Krishna Yadevam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhavitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastate Tapta Kanchana Gourange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sitadevi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Turubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivashari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschacha Deshatarine Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Welcome, dear devotees, to today's chat session. As I mentioned, we start a new chapter of the first canto, chapter number 13, Dhritarashtra quits home. So what is the link between this chapter and the last chapter? So the last chapter, Sutta Goswami was reciting the birth of Maharaj Parikshit, the most auspicious birth. And now we sort of switch to Dhritarashtra quits home. So what is the link? As we mentioned previously, Srimad Bhagavatam is not at all sporadic. It reads like a beautiful thesis or like a beautiful essay. Everything flows pravaha. Pravaha means flow. The Bhagavatam flows so beautifully from one chapter to the other. So the link between this chapter and the last is we are now going to read and discuss the events that are going to be leading up to the coronation of Maharaj Parikshit. So one of the significant events that takes place in the lead up to his coronation is the event of Dhritarashtra quitting home. This is significant because as we read and as we understand, Dhritarashtra was very, very caught up in his family life. And he was completely absorbed. And despite the best advice in the past, his mind was always clouded by his affection for his family members. So how he arrives at a point of taking the decision to quit home is most interesting. So let us read and discuss. So I'll share my screen for the first verse. Sutta uvacha virastirtha yatrayam matrayat atmanogatim yatvagad dastina puram taya bhapta vivi sita. So we won't read the word for word. We'll read the translation. The translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Sri Sutta Goswami said, while traveling on a pilgrimage, Vidura received knowledge of the destination of the self from the great sage Maitreya, and then returned to Hastinapur. He became as well versed in the subject as he desired. Purport. Vidura, one of the prominent figures in the history of the Mahabharata. He was conceived by Vyasadeva in the womb of the maidservant Ambika, mother of Maharaj Pandu. He is the incarnation of Yamaraj. Being cursed by Manduka Muni, he was to become a Shudra. The story is narrated as follows. So what we will do now, because the purports are quite long and we're covering a few verses, we may not read the entire purport. Therefore, we would ask the devotees to please read the purports before the class. So Srila Prabhupada is now describing in the purport the history of Vidura and how he came to be born as a Shudra. So Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport that once there was a group of thieves who were being chased by the police. And when they were being chased, they concealed themselves in the hermitage of a rishi called Manduka Rishi. So the constables, they arrested all the thieves, including Manduka Muni, along with them. And the magistrates specifically punished the Muni to death by being pierced with a lance. That was his punishment. And when he was just about to receive his sentence, when he was just about to be pierced, the news reached the king, and he at once stopped the act on consideration of him being a great Muni. So the king understood the implications of performing an offense to the Muni. So the king, he begged the Muni's pardon, as Srila Prabhupada says, but the Muni decided at once to go to Yamaraj. Why did he decide to go to Yamaraj? Because he wanted to understand, as all saintly people, all devotees of the Lord understand that nothing happens by chance. We experience events in our life due to our past karmas. So he went to meet Yamaraj. When he went to meet Yamaraj, he asked Yamaraj, what is the cause of him being put in this distressing situation and about to be pierced by a lance. And then Yamaraj said, when you were a little boy, you pierced an ant with a sharp straw. And for that reason, you are being put into this difficulty. So the Muni was not very happy to hear this. And he thought to himself that why should he be persecuted for some childhood innocent act? And he became upset with Yamaraj, and he cursed Yamaraj that he will become a Shudra. He will become a Shudra. So therefore we see that Vidura, he was born as a Shudra, and he's actually an incarnation of Yamaraj. And he was the Shudra brother of Dhritarashtra and Maharaj Pandu, as explained earlier, the child of Ambika and Vyasadeva. But this Shudra, Prabhupada writes, but this Shudra, the son of the Kuru dynasty, was equally treated by Bhishma Dev along with his other nephews. And in due course, Vidura was married with a girl who was also born in the womb of a Shudrani by a Brahmana. And that was Vidurani. He was married to Vidurani, and Vidurani was also born in the womb of a Shudrani by a Brahmana. So although Vidura did not inherit the property, he was given sufficient state property of Dhritarashtra, the elder brother of Vidura. Vidura was very much attached to his elder brother, and all along he tried to guide him on the right path. During the fratricidal war of Kurukshetra, Vidura repeatedly implored his elder brother, to do justice to the sons of Pandu. But Duryodhana did not take such interference by his uncle, did not like such interference by his uncle, and thus he practically insulted Vidura. This resulted in Vidura's leaving home for pilgrimage and taking instructions from Maitreya. So this is the brief history of Vidura. He's a great devotee of the Lord, and that's how he's so intimately connected with Dhritarashtra and Maharaj Pandu. You'll see he shows great affection for the Pandavas, and he shows great favor to the Pandavas because Maharaj Pandu was also his brother. And as Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport, Vidura tried his best to convince his brother Dhritarashtra to do the right thing. But he was not only materially blind, he was spiritually blind. And when Duryodhana insulted him, picking on him being born of a Shudra, then Vidur did not appreciate it at all, and he left home. In the third canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, there is beautiful description of what happened to Vidura on his pilgrimage. How he goes to Vrindavan, and in Vrindavan he meets Uddhava. He has a beautiful discussion with Uddhava. Uddhava recites in summary the pastimes of Lord Krishna in Vrindavan. But Uddhava was younger than Vidura, so he felt it was not appropriate for him to instruct Vidura. So instead, he directed Vidura to Maitreya Muni, who was living in Badrik Ashram, and Vidura went there, and there he asked beautiful questions, and he became enlightened. So in the verse itself, it says here, he became as well versed in the subject as he desired. So what is the subject being referred to here? It's the subject of bhakti. It's the subject of devotional service. And much of the third canto is Vidura getting instructions from Maitreya Muni. Beautiful instructions. And much as he desired means he was satisfied. He was satisfied, and having received those instructions, he returned home. So text number 2. Yavata kritavan prashnan shata kosha ravagrataha jataika bhaktir govinde devyas chopa raramaha. After asking various questions and becoming established in the transcendental loving service of Lord Krishna, Vidura retired from putting questions to Maitreya Muni. Purport. Vidura retired from putting questions before Maitreya Muni when he was convinced by Maitreya Rishi that the summum bonum of life is to be finally situated in the transcendental loving service of Lord Sri Krishna, who is Govinda, or one who satisfies his devotees in all respects. The conditioned soul, the living being in material existence, seeks happiness by employing his senses in the modes of materialism, but that cannot give him satisfaction. He then searches after the supreme truth by the empiric, philosophic, speculative method and intellectual feats. But if he does not find the ultimate goal, he again goes down to material activities and engages himself in various philanthropic and altruistic works, which all fail to give him satisfaction. So neither fruitive activities nor dry philosophical speculation can give one satisfaction, because by nature a living being is the eternal servitor of the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna, and all the Vedic literatures give him direction towards that ultimate end. The Bhagavad Gita confirms this statement. So the important point being made here by Srila Prabhupada is we know that Vidura was a devotee, but this verse is saying he was instructed about the science of devotional service by asking various questions. So in spiritual life, we have perfect, more perfect, and most perfect. Sometimes there may be traces of karma and jnana. That sometimes it's called karma mishra bhakti or jnana mishra bhakti. Sometimes there's bhakti, but there's still some taints for some fruitive result. And sometimes there's bhakti, but there's still the subtle desire to achieve liberation. But anything that falls short of pure bhakti, kevala bhakti, unalloyed bhakti, cannot satisfy the soul. Yayatma suprasidati. Only loving devotional service, which is unmotivated and uninterrupted, can satisfy the soul. And Prabhupada here in this paragraph, he mentions that there are people that may reach perfection on the stage of jnana. But because they are not fully satisfied, because the nature of the soul is to be active, because they have not been trained on how to act in devotional service, because their heart has not become free of other contaminations, they cannot engage in pure devotional service. So they fall down. Patanti adaha. They fall down back to philanthropic and altruistic work. So Vidura, we are hearing, he reached the stage where he is completely satisfied. This is very, very important. Unless we reach a stage where we're completely satisfied, our bhakti has not reached the correct position. When we reach a stage where we feel, I don't need anything else, simply by hearing Harinam, simply by hearing Krishna Katha, I feel completely satisfied. Completely satisfied. This bhakti, this devotional service, I don't want anything else. We see later in the story of Dhruva Maharaj, once he attains that stage of bhakti, even when he was offered some material boon, he was saying no. It's like broken glass. I found a diamond. So this is very instructive for us. Very instructive for us. We have to come to the point of being completely satisfied, where we feel I don't need anything else in my life. I have the most precious gift. Like Vidura, an inquisitive, conditioned soul must approach a bona fide spiritual master like Maitreya, and by intelligent inquiries must try to know everything about karma, fruitive activities, jnana, philosophical research for the supreme truth, and yoga, the linking process of spiritual realization. Now, this is very interesting. Master by Maitreya, and by intelligent questions, he must know everything about bhakti. I'm getting a message. My internet connection is unstable. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay, okay. Now, Prabhupada is saying something very interesting. Prabhupada says he must know everything about karma, jnana, and yoga. So let's read on. One who is not seriously inclined to put questions before his spiritual master need not accommodate a show bottle spiritual master, nor should a person who may be a spiritual master for others pose to be so if he is unable to engage his disciple ultimately in the transcendental loving service of Sri Krishna. So basically, is knowledge about or inquiries about karma, jnana, and yoga necessary? No, it's not necessary, but we'll see in the Bhagavatam some very interesting, like in the second canto. In the second canto, we will see that Shukdev Goswami starts, and he does quite a detailed explanation of the Ashtanga yoga process. And the point is made by the Acharyas and Srila Prabhupada. Why does he do that? He does that only for the reason of showing how superior bhakti is. How by bhakti, all the results of karma, jnana, yoga are achieved. So sometimes the spiritual master may speak about karma, jnana, and yoga simply so that the disciple can, when he gets to the point of bhakti, he can see how superior, how magnificent bhakti is compared to the other processes. So he will never, ever be attracted to any of these processes again. That is the reason. So Prabhupada makes a point here that one should not approach a spiritual master as a matter of fashion. Actually, one should only approach a spiritual master when one feels so frustrated in this material world. I cannot move left, I cannot move right, I cannot move front, I cannot move back. Wherever I turn, there is nothing but frustration and misery in this material world. And only when one arrives at that position, then only can one make proper inquiries to the spiritual master. Only then one can approach the spiritual master in the proper mood. So Prabhupada is making that in the same way the spiritual master must be in a position to educate the disciple about devotional service. Vidura was successful in approaching such a spiritual master like Maitreya, and he got the ultimate goal of life, bhakti unto Govinda. Thus, there was nothing to be known further about spiritual progress. So when Vidura was instructed about bhakti, he felt, that's why it said, he felt like he has now learned everything, the summum bonum. That's why bhakti is. So we should be like that. We should never feel that, maybe we're missing something. Maybe I came to Krishna consciousness. Maybe there's something in the other path. Maybe there's something in the other temples. Maybe there's something in the other kata. No, never, never. Everything is here in bhakti. So text 3 and 4. Tam bandum agatam drishva dharma putra sahan nujaha dhritarashtra yuyutsuscha shuddha saratvataha prita Gandhari Draupadi Brahman Subhadra Chotara Kripi Anyascha Janmaya Pandur Yatya Shashutu Shriyaha. When they saw Vidur return to the palace, all the inhabitants, his younger brothers, Dhritarashtra, Satyaki, Sanjaya, Kripacharya, Kunti, Gandhari, Draupadi, Subhadra, Uttara, Kripi, many other wives of the Kauravas and other ladies with children, all hurried to him in great delight. It so appeared that they had regained their consciousness after a long period. So from the description here, we can see how beloved Vidura was through the various family members. It is explained here that they hurried to him in great delight. And it was as if they were unconscious, they were asleep without the presence of Vidura. And when they saw him, like they got their lives back again. So Vidura was very, very loved, much loved by the family members. Now the purport is a very long purport. Interestingly enough, Srila Prabhupada does not give the histories of any of the men described here. He doesn't talk about Dhritarashtra, Satyaki, Sanjaya, Kripacharya, but he talks about certain personalities. Gandhari, Gandhari, Kunti, Draupadi, and Subhadra. Srila Prabhupada gives the history. So I'll just, for the sake of time, you can read the purport, but I'll just touch on some of the salient points that Srila Prabhupada discusses for each of these personalities. So he starts off by saying that Gandhari, she was the ideal chaste lady in the history of the world. And why is that so? Because firstly, she pleased Lord Shiva, and Lord Shiva blessed her to get a good husband. And she was betrothed to Dhritarashtra. But Dhritarashtra was blind. So, someone who is less cultured, someone who is less chaste, someone who has sight in the presence of a blind husband, there may be a tendency to feel some superiority against the husband. But Gandhari, she was such a chaste woman that from the time she married, she blindfolded herself. So she would be no better than her husband. So Prabhupada describes here that how she wanted children, but it so happened that she felt pregnant at the same time that Kunti felt pregnant. But Kunti gave birth before her, and she felt some anger when this happened, especially when Kunti gave birth to a male child. So in her anger, she gave a few blows to her chest, and then a lump of flesh came out. But since she was also a devotee of Vyasadeva, by the instruction of Vyasadeva, the lump was divided into 100 parts, and each part gradually developed into a male child. Actually, she was blessed that by Lord Shiva that she would have 100 sons. So she became a mother of 100 sons, and she nourished them. And when all of her sons were killed during the battlefield, during the battle of Kurukshetra, she was very, very upset, especially with Bhim and Yudhishthir. And she wanted to curse both of them. But Vyasadeva stopped her. So don't curse. Don't curse. And she was very mournful at the death of her children, but Lord Krishna personally pacified her with transcendental messages. So she died along with her husband in the jungles of the Himalaya, which we shall read about later in this chapter. She committed sati. And then there's description about Prita. Who is Prita? Prita is Kunti Devi, Kunti Maharani. And yes, it's explained that she was the daughter of Maharaj Surasen and the sister of Vasudeva, Lord Krishna's father. Therefore, she's aunt. She's aunt. And it is explained how she pleased Durvasa Muni, and she got a boon from Durvasa Muni that if she wanted to get a child, by a mantra, it was possible for her. Actually, not a child. Durvasa Muni gave her the benediction that she could call any demigod as she pleased, simply by a mantra that she received. Then she was inquisitive how this mantra works, and she chanted it, and she called for the sun god. And when the sun god came, she was surprised. But the sun god said, you've called me, and I have to give you a child, but I'll give you a child without your virgin being adulterated, your status as a virgin being adulterated. And then she gave birth to Karna, but she was very afraid. She was unwedded, and she's giving birth to a child, so she put Karna in a basket and sent him down the river. And then she was married to Maharaj Pandu, and Maharaj Pandu was got himself in a situation where he was going to be killed. Sorry, he was going to pass away early. Sorry, not kill, pass away early. And then there was discussion between Madri and Kunti, and they both agreed that Kunti Devi shall take care of the children, and Madri will achieve sati together with her husband. And then she got permission, or actually Pandu said, she didn't want Pandu to die, but Pandu said, no, I give you permission. You can beget children after I leave. And in this way, through Yamaraj, she got Yudhishthir. Through Indra, she got Arjun. Through who did she get?
Vayudev.
Vayu, yeah, through Vayu.
Vayudev. Bhim.
Yeah. And the other two sons, it says here, Nakul and
Ashwini.
Sahadev was begotten by Pandu himself in the womb of Madri. So Nakul and Sahadev was begot by Madri, but Kunti took care of them. And then there's some description about Kunti Devi, how she suffered, and how she ordered Bhim to kill Bakasura, how she married the sons to Draupadi. And then there's some description about Draupadi, the most chaste daughter of Maharaj Draupad. And she was the sister of Drishtidumna. Drishtidumna was the eldest son of Maharaj Draupad. She was also called Panchali. Panchali because her father was the king of Panchal province. And there's some description of how she married the 5 Pandavas. She was also known as Krishna. One of her names was Krishna. And she got the benediction from Durvasa Muni that her pot would always be full until she eat. And in this way, she was able to serve the Pandavas and through the protection of Lord Krishna, she was able to protect her husband from the curse of Durvasa Muni. So there's specific events, how Lord Krishna saved her when she was being disrobed in the arena, and so on. And lastly, there's description of Subhadra. Subhadra is the daughter of Vasudeva and the sister of Lord Krishna. She was not only a very dear daughter of Vasudeva, but she was a very dear sister to both Krishna and Baladev. The two brothers and sisters are represented in the famous Jagannath temple of Puri, and the temple is still visited by thousands of pilgrims daily. So the worship of Subhadra, together with the brother Krishna and Baladev, is made eternal in the pastimes of Lord Jagannath in Jagannath Puri. And Srila Prabhupada describes this. And then Prabhupada also mentions that once when they went to Dwaraka, Arjuna wanted to marry Subhadra. And he expressed his desire to Lord Krishna. But Lord Krishna knew that Lord Balaram had other plans for Subhadra. He wanted to marry Subhadra to someone else. So Krishna advised Arjuna to kidnap Subhadra. So Arjuna kidnapped Subhadra, and according to the plan of Lord Krishna, but Lord Balaram was very angry at Arjuna and he wanted to kill him. But Lord Krishna implored his brother to excuse Arjuna. And in this way, Subhadra was duly married with Arjuna, and Abhimanyu was born. And at the premature death of Abhimanyu, Subhadra was very mortified. But on the birth of Parikshit, she was happy and solaced. So she was very, very, very more sad when Abhimanyu was killed. But when Parikshit was born, she was very happy. Okay, we went over time a bit, long purports, but we'll stop here and we'll take any questions, comments, or reflections that anyone has. Hare Krishna. Okay. No questions, no comments. That's okay.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Can you accept my humble obeisances?
Hare
Oh, good,
Krishna.
Sri Prabhupada. Very nice class, as usual, Prabhuji. I have a question. It's not from it, from someone else. Okay. So we were reading the Bhagavad Gita, and then someone said, why Krishna did not protect Abhimanyu? Because he was his dear nephew. So I gave some answers, but I would like to hear from you if you have an answer for that, please.
Yeah, I'll come to that, but what is most interesting? So Abhimanyu was the daughter of Subhadra, and he was the husband of Uttara. So it was Lord Krishna who suggested that Abhimanyu enter the battle and enter the battle in a certain way. And Lord almost gave assurances that Abhimanyu would be protected. But still he was killed. Now, normally, in such a situation, we would have thought that Subhadra and Uttara, they would have felt some anger, something like they were deceived by Lord Krishna when Abhimanyu was killed. But the Acharyas explained that when Abhimanyu was killed, there was not a single, not even a tinge of any ill feeling or animosity that Subhadra or Uttara felt against Lord Krishna. That was the strength of their love. It was like nothing. Absolutely. Their love for Krishna was absolutely same after Abhimanyu was killed. So coming back to your question, Lord Krishna could have ensured that Abhimanyu was not killed. The simple answer is, and there may be some deeper answer, or someone may has it, for why Abhimanyu was killed at a young age. But generally, it was for Leela, and the reason I mentioned this, the feelings of Subhadra and Uttara, it demonstrated their love for Krishna. The love between Krishna and his devotees stands above any other relationship. Stands above any other relationship. So unfortunately, Undileko Mataji, that's the best answer I can give.
Sorry, Prabhuji, yes, that's what I said. I said that's the Leela of the Lord.
Yeah.
Because we see all the young children of Pandavas, the Pandavas were killed, like Satyama killed the 5 sons of Draupadi, Ghatotkacha was killed, his son Farvarik was killed. Everyone except for Parishit Maharaj, maybe also the Lord wanted to show the prowess of Parishit Maharaj. That's why he was the only one left behind, right? So
Yes.
maybe I would say, yeah.
Yeah, that's another reason you can consider, because if Abhimanyu was not killed, then he would have been king, he would have been emperor. Prabhupada says it a few times in the Bhagavatam, that at the back of the Lord's mind and the plan of the Lord was for Srimad Bhagavatam to be spoken.
Mm-hmm.
And the Lord wanted to accelerate the, Prabhupada says it so many times in the various purports in this canto, that the Lord's plan, main plan in the material world is to bring the conditioned souls back. So the Lord was clearly, he wanted to accelerate Srimad Bhagavatam being spoken. So if Abhimanyu was king and then Parikshit was later, who knows when Bhagavatam would have been spoken.
Yeah, it will be too long, right?
Maybe.
And also the Lord, he used whoever he wants, just to fasten the process, as you said. Like we know, Gajendra, King Indradunya was nicely sitting in the forest and meditating. So it happened that he got cursed by Agastya Rishi. So what was the use of cursing him? But he was meditating and he didn't know what was happening around him. So he got cursed. So that shows that the Lord wanted to take King Indradunya to become as Gajendra, and Gajendra praying helplessly. So we have this nice, beautiful prayer in the 7th canto of Bhagavatam, how Gajendra is praying. So all these is Krishna's Leela. It's very difficult for us to understand that.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you for your nice question. Okay. Anyone else got any reflections, comments, or questions?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Krishnavani Mataji.
Yeah, wonderful class. Beautiful. Prabhu, just wanted to add a little bit about the birth of Pandavas. Actually, the birth, they were, born before Pandu left his body. Because, he was cursed that he could not beget any children. That's why he asked Mother Kunti to, because she had 5 boons. So she did 3, and then she felt that, like Madri, she won't have any. So then she gave, because she had 5. 1 she used for Karna. Then she had 3. So then she had only 1 boon left. So then she gives to Madri. But Madri was clever, and then she recalled Ashwini Kumars, and that's why she got twins boys.
Thank you for clarifying. Yeah, I knew it was something like that. I just couldn't remember. So thank you. So nicely explaining that, Mataji. Thank you so much.
Yes. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Okay, dear devotees. No, let me just check. Sometimes something comes in the chat. Okay, now there's no more questions on the chat. Thank you very much, dear devotees. All glories to your service. Glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to Bhagavatam. Vanchikalpatarubhyascha kripa
Kripa Sindhu Bhavacha
Danam
Patitanam
Bhavasidubhyo Namo Namah.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Hare.